Welcome to another episode of the South by East podcast, where we discuss everything from the scriptures to music, culture, and everything in between. We are back in the intersection, and you know what? This week we have a specialty for you. One of the most famous clips out there of 80 sitcoms is a clip from the Newhart sitcom where somebody comes in, has this problem, and he's like, oh, I can fix that really quick. And he just keeps hollering, stop it, over and over and over again. And you know what? One of the things about social media is we get to see and hear about everybody's problems. It feels like people have no problem posting about the problems in their lives on social media without any kind of boundaries, without any kind of filter.
None at all.
And I don't know about you, but sometimes I read them and I'm thinking like,
you could have kept that to yourself.
Yeah, or that is one of your making. Right? and so sometimes, you know, people will blame the universe or the winds or the ancestors or whatever else
all of that
on how their life is going without seeing how their habits are feeding in. That feeds into, I came across this Twitter post that was just in my feed, and it said that these are 7 habits of highly miserable people. Now, this is the opposite of Stephen Covey's.
7 habits of highly successful people.
Highly effective people.
Highly effective people, yeah.
But this is 7 habits of highly miserable people. So let's jump into this, bro. Let's jump into this. The first one is they eat a diet high in calories but low in nutrition. He says eating too much food leads to excess fat in the belly and ruins gut health, which impacts your brain. Also, lack of key micronutrients can lead to mental health issues. Solution?
Eat a whole food, nutrient-dense diet.
Now let's discuss that a little bit. You know, the older you get, like I used to be of an age where I thought, in the words of a Spike Lee joint, the more cheese, the more better, right? But then, you know, you pass a certain age and you realize that something can have too much cheese on it.
Oh, yeah.
Your stomach can't take it. I mean, right now, at this stage of my life, living dangerously is eating a bag of Cheetos. And I just, my gut health is different, man.
I'm a bad man.
And here's the deal. I remember there being places that we would go to eat lunch when I was a young engineer where I knew I could only go to those places on Friday.
Because you knew you couldn't go back to the office?
Oh, that's right. There you go. I knew that after I ate there, that I couldn't go back to the office, right? Because I was going to be in a food coma. I was going to have the itis. And so, man, bro, when you hear this, right, there's one of the habits of a highly miserable person.
Man, when I look at this, I think about, this is kind of serious. I'm going to get kind of serious for a second. But just lack of education, right? People not knowing how to get access to good foods. Sometimes good foods are a little more expensive, but there are ways that you can eat a healthier diet, like even just cutting back on portions, man. Like things that you can do to actually get you in that range a little better.
Man, I'm telling you, us shifting, like my mother-in-law one time showed up. Like every time they come, they bring a ton of stuff for the kids and everything else. They showed up with all these colorful plates that my kids just love. They always fight for the pink plate. I don't know what it is about the pink plate, but they fight for the pink plate, and it has these subdivisions. And at first, me and Trisha used to put their food on it and these plastic little plates, and then we would put our food on a normal plate. But then it like in the crush of just parenting, man, and time, we just said, you know what? We just all gonna eat off the same little plates. And it made us really portion out things, and it's been better for us, man. But like you, I had to learn how to eat. I had to go to a dietitian. And one of the things that's about this is a lot of times when you look up the people who are less likely to have insurance, they're also a lot of times have access to the most unhealthy foods. Which is like a compound problem, right? Because if you're eating bad, then it's going to affect your health. And if you don't have health insurance to take care of the things as they come up, they're going to only become chronic issues. And man, so I tell you what, there's nothing like seeing an older person deal with some of the health problems that were brought on by habits earlier in life, and even like one of my grandmothers dealt with dementia later in life, man. And so I'm at the age where I'm starting to think about that. You know, we were in a meeting just this week where I was talking about the next 10 to 15 years and saying, man, probably when we hit that next 15-year mark, I got to be transitioning.
Yep.
Right? I got to be transitioning, and because of what my age is going to be, in order for the things that I'm a part of now to continue to be healthy. So I look at that, and I think we do need to pay attention to that, and I think that does play a role because I know the role that my diet played in my performance at work early on in my career.
Yep. And, man, eating healthier helps you to think further ahead. I know some of us are like, man, I can't even think 15 years ahead, and maybe if you put the Cheetos down, maybe you could. I'm joking. But another thing that really impacts your health, I'll be clowning, I'm sorry. But number two is they don't get enough sleep. I kind of wanted to blank this one out. I was mad at Johnathan for bringing this. It says, lack of sleep is the lead domino to feeling miserable. Short-term deprivation makes it harder to control emotions, make sound decisions, and control appetite. Long-term, it messes with your hormones and invites disease. Solution?
Prioritize your sleep. Man, I'm going to tell you something. That My Pillow dude didn't make all that money because of who he supported in the presidential election. He made all that money because we really do need a good pillow to sleep, and sleep is important. Here's the deal. You're gonna think I'm crazy.
Okay.
Crazier. Than what you already thought. When I don't get good sleep, I actually do gain weight.
Oh no, I know that's a thing. That is a real thing.
And bro, until I start doing, I'm like, I actually do, like, I'll start swelling, I'll start retaining water, and they did a study, like, the less you sleep, like, you gain weight because your body starts to take in more calories, like, just telling you you're hungry to compensate for the lack of sleep.
Yep, that's it, man. And you start to not be able to trust your cravings, your inhibitions go down, your self-control goes down. And man, I just did a lesson with the youth where I actually talked about, this was maybe a month ago, where I talked about one of my things. We were talking about what's on the throne of your heart. And I was like, hey, I learned how important sleep was to me. And the reason I always was missing sleep was because I like to game, man. I like to play games, especially when I was living by myself. I hop on the game. I can get online, play with people all night. I'll be playing till 3, 4, 5 a.m. in the morning. And I think I'm fine. But once I got married, my family informed me that I am not the same when I have not had a full night of sleep. And when I got to see how my lack of sleep was actually making me shorter with my kids, it was making me not really respond to my wife in the way that I wanted to, I realized, like, I really do need a full night's rest. I'm not the same person without it.
Here's one of the things I learned before that a lot of therapists will share with you. It's a acronym called HALT, H-A-L-T.
Yeah.
Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. You're normally at your worst in your weakest defense when you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. These first couple fall right in that, man. Let's keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
Third habit of highly miserable people. They don't exercise.
Whew.
No exercising is a one-way ticket to misery. Exercise stimulates your brain and releases endorphins that make you feel awesome. Also, studies show that it can be 1.5 times more effective for mental health than medications. Solution?
Wow. Exercise 30 minutes every day.
Bro, this has been part of my plan for a lot of years, man. I get up right after my quiet time. The next thing I do is get exercise in 6 out of 7 days a week. And I tell you what, my team knows when I haven't gotten it in. My family knows when I haven't gotten that in. I have learned, I used to try to work out in the evenings, man, it doesn't work. I have learned to prioritize my day and organize my day by the things that are priorities for my life. And so I don't want to start from a deficit.
Right.
That's why I prioritize my time with God, and then I prioritize my exercise and my learning on the front end of my days.
Man, I actually was a part of I used to sell cutlery for a company called Cutco. I always kept my Cutco knife on with me. We go to Golden Corral. I'd have my Cutco knife in my pocket. I pull that bad boy out. I'm like, no, I'm good. I got this. I pulled my Cutco knife out. That's what I was known for. But in that company, they put me in a management program. And I struggled with mental health most of my life, clinical depression. It's hereditary, got that from my mom. And I was talking to my manager, and at this time, I was in my second year of college.
Yeah.
Or my third year of college. In my second year of college, I actually had a muscle disease that ate away at my muscles. I couldn't go to school. I couldn't do things like that. So I had to catch up, and I was practicing 5 hours a day. And I was like, hey, I'm depressed. I can't manage this stuff with the program. I'm gonna drop out the program. And my manager, our regional manager, was like, hey man, that's cool. I hear what you're saying. Hey, have you tried drinking more water and getting more exercise? I said, hold on. I said I got mental health, not physical health issues. And he said, no, drinking more water, getting more exercise, and more sleep will help. And I started exercising, drinking water. I still dropped out of that program, needed to focus on school, but I started drinking water and exercising. Fam, changed my life.
Bro, y'all know, like, I tell y'all all the time how I work out the hardest problems of my day during my workout in the morning. It's during that time, right after my quiet time with God and in the scriptures and prayer, I go work out. And a lot of times the things that are on my heart that are kind of stuck, keeping me clogged up emotionally and spiritually, mentally, I work through during that time and those endorphins hitting. And I come in a lot better mood and ready to come deal with it, even if it's a follow-up conversation with my wife about something that came up or the kids or whatever else. Number 4.
Yep.
The fourth habit of highly miserable people.
Says this.
They don't spend enough time in nature.
Long-term exposure to blue light can disrupt your circadian rhythms and cause feelings of depression and irritability. Spending time in nature has been shown to do the opposite of that. Solution?
Spend 1 hour a day outside. Hey, one of my habits that I entered this year with, just before I ever read this, was this one hour a day without electronics. We've been getting more and more data on this, man. The hump in our posture of our neck, our fingers and thumbs getting arthritis from electronics. We're gonna have to pay the piper at some point. We're gonna have to pay the piper at some point, right?
Yeah. Don't turn off the podcast just yet, but yeah, that is so important. The other piece when it talks about upsetting like your circadian rhythm, if you don't get at least an hour without blue light before sleep, it actually decreases the amount of the chemical that's in your brain that tells you you're tired. So if you've ever been up late at night like me, and you're like, man, I want to keep watching one more episode, I want to play one more game, and you push through and you feel tired, and then it's 2 a.m. and you don't feel tired anymore, that's because your brain has said, I give up. It's stopped telling you what you actually need. And it's just like when God turns you over to your own sin, it feels good in the moment, but that's really not the place you want to be.
Yeah.
So let's keep it moving. Number 5. They complain and always play victim.
Oh, he went there, didn't he?
He really did. They'll look for every excuse to not take control of their life. They will place blame on others for their lack of results. They will seek handouts and complain when they don't come. Solution?
Take ownership of your results. Save yourself.
Ooh.
Man, one of my friends, Meredith King, laid down this quote that is so good, and she says, sometimes we can talk about something for so long that we can actually believe that we're doing it. And I feel like that so much, where there's so many people that I come across and I hear, I see their posts online, I see they have conversations where they want to do these big grandiose things, but none of the habits and different things in their life line up with getting them there. And you're like, man, they want to win, but they don't know how to win. And it ends up being how everybody else is wrong and everything else is at fault.
Right.
And it's like, man, here's the deal, right? Me and my wife had an honest conversation. I met her after I lost a lot of weight. And she was honest with me. She said, hey, I'm glad I met you then, because I might not have been able to see the person that you really are. if you hadn't been taking some of those steps.
Yeah.
I was like, man, that's honest.
It's real. It's real, man. And I want to say, too, taking ownership for your own results doesn't mean just going off Lone Ranger, because that's the same type of mentality that he's talking about here. Taking ownership of your own results can sometimes look like, okay, I'm not asking for a handout, I'm asking for help, right? Like, hey, I'm struggling with this here. Could you help give me some information? Could you tell me what books to go read? Do you have a reading plan, a workout plan that I could step into that would help me take my next step? And then taking the initiative, for one, to go get the information, and then the initiative to go act on that information.
I'm gonna take a step on one that hits a little bit closer to home with the platforms that we're using. People will post about something in their personal lives on social media and then get mad when people comment on that area of their lives.
This is my wall.
And I'm like, hey fam, if you don't want anyone to comment on that area of your life, don't post about it.
Don't put it in public.
Don't put it out there. And I'm like, this is one of those deals is the only reason they started commenting on it is because you put it in the public sphere with a big thing that says comment right here on it.
That was Johnathan. I didn't say that. I think we should move on to number 6.
Number 6. The sixth habit of highly miserable people is they lack gratitude.
Oof.
Miserable people put more focus on the things they don't have rather than being thankful for the things they do. They will be on a constant search for more. They will inevitably leave them empty. Solution?
Each day, find 3 things to be grateful for. Man, I think study after study after study has actually shown this, that being grateful, literally finding something to be grateful for. They used to have like this gratefulness challenge where for like 30 days you had to always name something that you were grateful for and add to that list. Man, having something that you're grateful for actually improves your mental health. It improves the physical well-being of your health because it produces like endorphins and things like that in your body. And it starts to change the way you look at circumstances and situations. People tend to become more hopeful. People tend to become more optimistic. And somehow they also tend to become more successful.
Yeah. The 7th habit of highly miserable people.
They love picking fights. Miserable people love making other people miserable. So they'll find something to pick fights about, resorting to insults and other childish ways to try to make another person feel like crap. Solution?
Stop hating on people and picking fights. Here's the deal. Most of us, there's a small percentage of our society that is not like this. And God bless all of you who are not like this. But 95% of us, especially when we're young and in our 20s and in our teens, have this Superman complex. We feel like we're bulletproof.
Yeah.
We feel like we can eat anything, we can stay up for however long, we can whoop anybody who come up against us.
Yes.
We can beat everybody that we know at the thing that we think that we're really good at. We're smarter than everybody. We can outmaneuver and outwit everybody. 95% of the people think they won't outright say it, but we live like that.
Yep.
And here's the deal. We don't see it as picking fights. We see it as setting people straight. We see it as knowing our worth.
Right.
We see it as like, so, and here's the deal. The older you get, and so here's the why. And because of that, every time we have bad service at a restaurant, we feel like we got to go to Yelp on Google and make a bad review. That's picking a fight. I'm at a stage in my life, man. We've had this conversation over several things where I just said, oh, I'm letting it go. Oh, yeah, I may not ever go to that business again, but I don't have to make a public post about it. I ain't got to pick a fight.
Nope. And for those of us who are, man, well, how do I know which one I'm doing? I think I'm setting people straight. Think about your motives. There's a lot of people in my guy calls it request land on Facebook. I always have probably about 50 requests sitting there on Facebook that I don't respond to. Some of those requests are for people that if I took the time to go through it, I'd probably deny. But I would deny them because I would think having them on my Facebook is just not healthy for me, or they're a bot, but having them on my Facebook is just not healthy for me. There's a difference between blocking somebody out of spite and blocking somebody for your own health.
And I've said this on a previous episode. You get 3 negative comments on your social media, and then I unfollow you. They don't have to be about me. They don't have to be about the organization I'm a part of. Just 3 negative comments, period. And I unfollow you because I start to see you as somebody who likes to pick fights. And I just don't have a lot of space for that in my life. And so I really just, I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, I don't have to show up to every fight that somebody invites me to.
Yep.
And so and here's the deal, if you hang around enough fights, even just to watch it, because we was at that stage too where we just like to watch other people fight.
Right.
At some point, it's gonna spill over onto you, and you're gonna get hit by a straight punch. I've learned that lesson too. So I try to stay out of those things, man. And I think it's growing, and as you grow in maturity, you start learning these things. You start learning about different things, and you start saying, how can I reverse some of these paths in my life? I think all of us struggle with at least one of these things.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's being real about it, and then saying, I love that they give solutions at the end of it. I think that we can grow and see how the things that we're doing are playing into the patterns that we see in our lives. And that's something, I'm all for mental health. I have a therapist that I see on a regular basis. I'm all for having tools and techniques, and I know there's injustices, and I believe in systemic racism, that it exists. I believe all those different things, and I believe that our actions play a part in what we're experiencing in our daily lives, whether it be the success or the lack of success. I believe there's some God-gifted talents, some things that we've done nothing to deserve that we have that we can get. And so, and I believe that there's some personal accountability in how we live. The question that we all have to answer is, are we doing as much as we can when it pertains to our actions and thoughts and words to lead us to the place where we want to be? We can't be perfect, right? And we don't live in a perfect world, but we can make efforts to improve, because we'll never be perfect, where we can. And that's where we want to leave you today, in the intersection. Think about these 7 habits and what you can personally do to make progress.
Yeah.
Even when perfection is not something that we can attain.
Hey, and feel free to share those in the comment section. Let's have a discussion, because accountability is always really important when you're trying to transform habits. And we'll see y'all next week here in the intersection.